Hi everyone, this is Marissa. I'm making a video to show you how to help kids who are younger install the software they need. Just some quick tips to make sure that they stay on track and are paying attention and stuff like that. Alright, so the first thing you should do is you should have a plan before you start out the class in the first place. You should probably at the very least prepare like 20 or 30 minutes before the class starts. Just plan out exactly what you want to get done for the day for that class. So on the first day, you want to make sure that you're installing all the necessary software and getting LAN school set up, and also making sure everyone has access to Google Classroom so that way they have access to the materials they need. So you need to make sure you plan out exactly what's going to be covered, and then you can use a notepad or a document to keep track of it. I use an app called TextEdit on my Mac computer, and it's a simple editor, and it just lets you type text into it, and you can keep track of everything there if you have a Mac. If you're on Windows, you can use something like Notepad. Alright, so when you're in class and you're getting ready to have the students install the software, you need to explain the purpose of the software, but not in a extremely detailed way, just kind of like what the software is called and why we're using it. So for Scratch, for example, you just want to tell them that the software we're using is called Scratch, and why we're using it, because this is going to be the block-based programming that we're going to use throughout the entire class. Then you'll guide them to install it from there. So the reason that we don't go into too much detail is because we don't want to lose the students' focus when they're waiting to get started, because these kids might be excited to get started, and they might get bored of the installation process, because that can be it can take a while and can be boring. And now the next thing you need to do is send the download source to them. So you need to send the link to them, and the best way to do that is to send it directly through the Hangouts Meet chat interface. And you need to show the kids how to get to the chat. So you may need to share your screen and show them where the chat icon is. And depending on what computer they're using, or what if they're using a phone, they might have a different place to look for it. It might be a good idea to look to see where the chat interface icon is, where you can click on it on different operating systems. So on a phone, it's going to be in a different spot. And once you show them that, they should be able to click the link and they should see the page on their own screen. And just like I said in the last slide, you want to make sure you're using screen sharing very frequently, because screen sharing can help get them through the more challenging installations. Some software that they install might need a password, or it might need special permissions in order to be installed, and you should guide them through that as well. So if there's a very detailed permissions that require you, especially on Mac OS, if you need to go into the settings manually and change some things, you'll have to use your screen sharing to guide them through that. If you have a Mac anyway. If you don't have a Mac, it might be an idea to ask one of the other instructors who does have a Mac, maybe to just take some screenshots, and then you can just pull those screenshots up on your own screen so they can see what it looks like. Another thing you have to remember is passwords. Yeah, so if a student needs a password to be granted in order for the software to be installed, so LAN school is one of those. On Mac, it'll require you to enter the username and the password credentials. I ran into a situation on Saturday in the Python class where a student was unable to install LAN school because they were using a work computer. And so the work computer is going to be not able to have LAN school installed on it because of the permissions that the company put on the laptop. But if the student is using a regular laptop, they may need to have their parents put in the username and password in order to install the software. The username on Macs is always going to be the name of the user of the computer. So you can tell them that they can find the name of the current user on the top right corner of their screen. They should see the name. So it's usually the parent's name or the student's name, whichever one. It just depends. And then you also want to show the students how to share their screen, because if they run into a problem and you're not sure what it looks like or what it is, especially if it's a different operating system, they can share their own screen so you can see it, and then you can guide them how to troubleshoot the problem that they're having. So yeah, you want to ask what computer they're using, so that way you can troubleshoot more easily. Because if you don't know what computer they're using, then you might be guiding them, and the steps won't be very useful to them if you're using a Mac and they're using a Windows machine. So some examples, like I said, a LAN school won't work on a work computer if the permissions are blocked by the company that issued the laptop or the computer. And then Python can't be installed on a Chromebook just because of the way that Chrome OS is set up. So Python will, if you're using a Chromebook or a work computer that blocks the installation, will have to find an alternative option. And that's what brings us to here, find alternatives. So in one case in the class, and you'll see in the video that I'm about to bring up in a second, that I was trying to have a student install Python on their parents' work computer, and it was not working. They had a Chromebook as an alternative, but it also wasn't working because Python can't install, or Chromebooks cannot install Python. So I needed to find an alternative very quickly because I was not prepared for that to happen. So that's what you should do. You should plan that out beforehand. Make sure you have alternatives just in case things go completely wrong. So that way the students don't feel like they're doing something wrong or something like that. And it also makes it easier for the kids since they're younger if you have an alternative already prepared. So in the case of Python, you'll see in the video that I was able to find an alternative before it was too late. And if you don't have an alternative, then Google is your friend. So use Google to figure out if there's something you can use really quickly, or at least temporarily until then. So in the case of Python, there are many editors out there. There's online editor options and stuff like that. More detailed things like Scratch. If there's an issue with Scratch being installed, use the website version for a little bit, if possible. And they can just download the projects to their computer and then once they create their own username and stuff like that, they can move on from there. All right, and so now I'm going to go ahead and play a couple video clips of my Python class towards the beginning where the student was having some problems. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and install Python, and the link for that is going to be right here. So python.org/downloads. And when you click that link, you should see, I'll pull it up. You should see, you'll have the option to download Python right at the top. There's going to be an orange or a yellow button rather that you can click. It should say download Python 3.8.2. And you can download that from there, and it should show you a package that you can download, and it should give you the option to install it. I'll share with you. Okay. So I'm on the python.org. You can select this yellow button here. And when you click that, you'll see this package downloads down here. So you can click the downloaded file. And then you go through the installer that way. And this is just going to install Python onto your computer so we can access it. You'll just have to agree to the terms and everything. You probably can't see that window, but that's okay. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Yep, so you'll go through this installer right here. It looks just like the other one, kind of, but you're just going to accept the conditions for the software, and then you'll install it to your operating system, to your hard disk here.
It says the
And when
same
you,
thing as last time, like the username and password.
um, maybe have your parent type it in their username again and stuff. It might work for this. I'm not sure. This will be required because we need to have Python installed on here in order to do anything.
It didn't work for this one either.
It didn't work. Was it an invalid password, or did it just block it, or?
I don't know. It just like doesn't work. It's just like.
Then let's do something else then.
Do you think if I use another computer, it would work?
Yeah, it would. I think, did your mom mention that this was a work computer that you're using?
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be why. If you have a different computer you can use, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay. So here's what we'll use. I'm gonna post a link in the chat real quick. So we'll use this temporarily until we can find an alternative for you. 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to paste this link in the chat, and then I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so go ahead and open that up. We're going to use that for now, so that was all right. So you should see, I'll share this with you. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so when you open up that link, you're going to end up on this page right here. Why is my thing doing that? Okay. You're going to end up on this page right here, and so